Malaysian businesses are anticipating that COVID-19 will have a prolonged and deeper impact on the economy, and those with deeper pockets will likely consider strategic mergers and acquisitions to accelerate growth. Citing Ernst Young's 22nd edition of the EY Global Capital Confidence Barometer, Bernama reports that 62% of its Malaysian respondents expect a U-shaped recovery period of slower economic activity extending into 2021. 38% see a V-shaped recovery and a return to normal economic activity in the third quarter of this year, and less than 1% foresee an L-shaped recovery and recessionary conditions until 2022. George Corshi, the Malaysia Transaction Advisory Services leader for Ernst Young, reportedly said that the pandemic has accelerated economic slowdown and created business disruption coupled with a liquidity crunch. He said the general consensus by the Malaysia respondents seems to indicate that there is an imminent risk of a recession and all companies will need to transform, reboot and reshape themselves, which will give rise to both opportunistic and strategic M&As in the post-COVID-19 era. The FBM KLCI closed up 16.89 points or 1.15% at 1,490.14 as global markets rose, with investors cheered by the reopening of economies and further signs of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. This helped offset jitters over riots in US cities and unease over Washington's power struggle with Beijing. Also boosting gains on the local benchmark composite was the continued craze for glove maker shares. Across Bursa Malaysia, 10.31 billion securities worth 6.73 billion ringgit exchanged hands. Of note are top gainers and glove manufacturers Hartalega Holdings, which jumped 5.1% to 13 ringgit and 18 cent, and Berjaya Corporation up by 16.8% to 15 ringgit and 54 cent. This brings Hartalega's market capitalization to 44.6 billion ringgit, making it the 6th largest listed company in Malaysia by value. Meanwhile, Berjaya at 40.5 billion ringgit is the 8th largest by market cap. Berjaya Corp, which requested a trading suspension today, will be taking over home appliances distributor Singer Malaysia. Singer is a well-known household brand name, particularly for its sewing machines, and is currently owned by B Corp's major shareholder Tan Sri Vincent Tan. Sources familiar with the matter told the AgeMarkets.com that the transaction might involve the issuance of B Corp shares. To recap, Berjaya Group had last year said plans were afoot to inject Singer into the Sun publisher Berjaya Media as part of the latter's regularization exercise. However, it remains unclear as to how the move would impact Berjaya Media's regularization plan, which is to be submitted to the relevant authorities by June 20th for approval. Singer, formerly known as Berjaya Singer, was once a unit of Berjaya Retail, an entity that was listed in 2010 but privatized by Tan barely 7 months after going public. Trading in B Corp shares will be suspended until 5 p.m. tomorrow pending the group's announcement of a material transaction. Prior to the suspension, B Corp shares last traded at 19 cent on May 29th for a market capitalization of 930.5 million ringgit. UMW Holdings has announced the sudden passing of its president and group CEO Badrul Faisal Abdul Rahim on May 31st. The group did not specify the cause of his death. He was 51 years old. According to UMW, Badrul Faisal served as president and group CEO since his appointment on October 1st, 2015. He began his career with the conglomerate as senior GM in the president and group CEO's office in December 2010 before being appointed as acting executive director for the oil and gas division from April 2011 to December the same year. UMW says Badrul Faisal was instrumental in the success of key value creation projects at various business divisions. It highlighted in particular his success in making UMW the first Malaysian company to be a Tier 1 aerospace engine component manufacturer for Rolls-Royce. Eversendi's unit Eversendi Offshore has bagged 2 European offshore wind renewable energy projects from UK's Petrofac valued at a combined 186 million ringgit. This brings the group's outstanding construction order book to 2.88 billion ringgit, the highest it has ever achieved. For the first project, Eversendai Offshore will be tasked with fabricating and constructing an offshore wind substation platform topside, jacket, and piles for an offshore wind farm in the UK. According to Eversendai, the offshore wind substation will have the highest capacity in the world and is expected to generate clean energy sufficient to power up to 1 million homes in that region. As for the second project, the company is to fabricate and construct jacket and piles for the Hollandse Kust Zoutbeta offshore wind substation platform for TenneT in the Netherlands. Eversendai says these projects will be executed at its fabrication yard in Areke Maritime City in Ras Al Khaimah, which is the northernmost emirate of the UAE. All in all, the group expects the offshore wind RE projects to contribute substantially to its earnings moving forward, on top of adding more value to its track record for future projects which it is currently bidding for.